which include, amongst others, the alleged unlawful disbandment of the political killing task force or team, which is known as PKTT, alleged moratorium on the filling of vacancies within the South African Police Services, SAPS, and alleged corrupt relationship between senior leadership within the SAPS and members of the public, as well as political interference in the work of the SAPS. In extending this invitation, the ad hoc committee chairperson has indicated that you may provide such information to the committee, if you so wish, under oath in terms of the powers, Privileges and Immunities of Parliament and Provincial Legislatures Act. You have indicated that you wish to take the oath so as to be afforded the protections as provided in the Powers and Privileges Act 2004. Please be informed that by law, you are required to answer fully and satisfactorily all the questions lawfully put to you, or to produce any document that you are required to produce in connection with the subject matter of the inquiry, notwithstanding the fact that the answer or the document could incriminate you or expose you to criminal or civil proceedings or damages. You are, however, protected in that evidence given under oath or affirmation before a House or a Committee of Parliament may not be used against you in any court or place outside Parliament, except in criminal proceedings concerning a charge of perjury or a charge relating to the evidence or documents required in these proceedings. Please be aware that in terms of Section 17, subsection 2 of the Powers, Privileges and Immunities of Parliament and Provincial Legislatures Act, a person who willfully furnishes a House or a committee with information or makes a statement before it which is false or misleading commits an offence and is liable to a fine or to imprisonment for a period not exceeding 2 years. You are required to take an oath or affirm that the evidence you are about to give is truthful. You may choose to take the oath or the affirmation, and then I will check with you, General Mkhwanazi, if you choose to take oath or affirmation.
I'll take an oath, sir.
Then if you take an oath, you will then have to repeat after what I say, respectfully so. I am going to read the oath. So where I say I, you will then have to mention your names, because the I in this case, because it's me reading, will be referring to Malapi Soviet Lahanyan. So in your case, you will say I, Nhlanhla Mkhwanazi. I swear that the evidence I shall give. May you please repeat after me, General Mkhwanazi, or do you want me to read the whole?
I can say all of it, Chair, if you want me.
Okay, no, it's fine. So,
I, Nhlanhla Mkhwanazi, swear that evidence I shall give shall be the truth, the whole truth, nothing else but the truth, so help me God.
Thank you so much. Honorable members, here we are. I want to thank you, General, for this exercise. Are we ready, Senior Counsel? Because I'm now handing over to you to lead us.
Thank you, Honourable Chair, Honourable Members. We're ready to proceed.
Thank you so much. Over to you.
Thank you. Good afternoon, General.
Good afternoon, sir.
And thank you again for your willingness to cooperate with us and to spend some time with us drafting your statement Are you satisfied that the statement, together with the annexures referred to in your statement, is your statement that you make under oath, and that you are personally comfortable with it to swear to this is the truth?
Yes, I am.
Thank you. Now, we know why we are here. It arises from the media briefing you held on the 6th of July, and that is referenced at paragraph 3 of your statement, and at paragraph 4 there's a reference to the fact that this ad hoc committee established by Parliament had asked you to present to it in accordance with its terms of reference, which you see, and that was on the 22nd of August this year, and the terms of reference, the relevant or the key areas are referenced at paragraph 6 and at paragraphs 4.1.1 to 4.1.18, which is on page 6. Is there anything in those terms of reference that you want to highlight? We are going to deal with some aspects of it relating to your evidence, but you've seen that and you're familiar with those terms of reference. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Thank you. Now, you have consulted with us. We spent a considerable time putting together this statement, and the annexes are at volumes 2 and 3, which I see it's either on your soft copy of your computer or hard copy on your left, and we'll make occasional reference to some of those annexures. However, could you, just for the record, it's at paragraphs 9.1 to 9.6, just describe to us your position currently, as well as the previous years you've spent in the South African Police Service as a police officer.
Honorable Chair and honorable members, although I did not want to bore the members with the history since I joined the service, which was in 1993, but I felt it's important maybe to reflect the position I held as a senior manager in the organization in the top executive of the SAPS, which started in 2011. That I performed the task as the acting national commissioner at the rank of a lieutenant general in 2011-2012. And subsequent to that, I had the privilege of not working for a year, but still employed in the police. And a year later, I was then assigned a division facility management as a divisional commissioner there. And after that, I was then appointed as a divisional commissioner of human resource development. And after human resource development, I became the acting provincial commissioner KwaZulu-Natal. And subsequent to that, I moved to the division operational response. And then I went back to KwaZulu-Natal as a provincial commissioner on a permanent basis, which is a position that I'm still occupying until now.
So your movement up the ranks has been quite extraordinary over the years. You rank as one of our most senior police officers, and you are familiar with all the workings within, especially senior police management. Would it be fair to make that statement?
That is correct. I'm a member of the Board of Commissioners in the South African Police Service, which is the top structure of the SAPS.
You also acted as the National Commissioner in 2011 to 2012.
That is correct.
Okay. The main reason why we are here, it relates to the issue surrounding the political killings task team. So perhaps we could just start by looking at the establishment of that, let's call it the PKTT, when, for what purpose, and how it operates, and perhaps start in 2018. We know that in this chamber, not exactly the same chamber, but in Parliament, President Ramaphosa had made an announcement of the formation of an interministerial committee in this House, and that had been set up to look into the political killings of KZN. Just talk to us about that development and what happened subsequently.
Thank you, Chair. Honourable members, the President of the Republic, in his capacity as the leader of the African National Congress, he visited the area of KwaZulu-Natal called Pietermaritzburg, where a member of his political party, Mr. Musawenkosi Kashana Mkhunu, was killed. And after the visit, the President then addressed the gathering that was outside the House, and this visit was on the 18th of May 2018. In his address to the public, the President made announcements that he shall establish, or he has given a task to the group of ministers, and then he's given them assignment that they must come with a solution, strategies to intervene with regard to mitigating these incidents of the murders of politicians in the province of KwaZulu-Natal. So this group of ministers were given timeline of a week to come up with a plan of how this, or a strategy of how this matter was going to be addressed. Honourable Chair and members, I'm not quoting the President directly on his own words, but I invite the members to go on YouTube if you so wish. Google that visit. You'll hear in your own words what the President said. And this was a Friday, the 18th. On a Monday, the ministers that were given an assignment by the President, they convened in the provincial office of KwaZulu-Natal at Bramfisher Street in Durban. And that is where the discussion with regard to the plan of how should we resolve these issues, mitigate these incidents of attacks on politicians or political leaders within the province of KwaZulu-Natal was discussed. And then subsequent to that, the President of the Republic appeared before the Parliament. I think that was on the 24th of May, where the President made a pronouncement with regard to the establishment of the Interministerial Committee that is tasked with the responsibility to develop measures that are going to mitigate these incidents of violence that is directed at politicians in the province of KwaZulu-Natal. So basically, that is a background of how the whole political killings task team came about, that it was a direction that was given by the head of state to the group of ministers, which are referred to as the Interministerial Committee. And subsequent to that, the work needed to be done, and then the officials ourselves then had to get busy with it.
Thank you. Who was the Minister of Police at the time?
At the time, General Cele was the Minister of Police.
So subsequent to the establishment of that interministerial committee, what role has that committee, or did that committee play subsequent to that, from 2018 through to, say, the end of 2023? I understand the last interministerial committee was held, I think, in September or November of 2023.
On frequent basis, Honorable Chair and members, the IMC will, at the beginning, when they wanted to get the status of what the police are doing in terms of dealing with this crime, a presentation was made to them by the management of the South African Police Service in KwaZulu-Natal at the time. That was done by the Deputy Provincial Commissioner at the time, because the Provincial Commissioner who was there was on suspension. And the ministers were not quite pleased with the level of performance of the SAPS at the time, when looking at the number of cases that were brought to court, number of arrests that were effected, and as a result, a directive was that the police management must come up with a proper plan that is going to have timelines with a coordinated effort to investigate these incidents. And subsequent to that, the plan was drawn up, which was then approved by the National Commissioner, and the presentation thereafter was given to this interministerial committee, and they endorsed that. They were quite happy with it. And thereafter, they will frequently visit to come and evaluate the work that the team is doing and listen to the challenges that we are experiencing and trying and assist us to intervene in those challenges. And that's how it's been working. And every time when we meet and we give them a status of the work we're doing, they will go and then brief South Africans through the media. They will have a press conference where they give a status update with regard to the interventions they are making. So I like to believe then that perhaps they will have elevated the same report back to the president as a person who had assigned them. So that's how it's been working up until towards the end of 2023, whereafter this interministerial committee has not said. I like to believe it was towards the end of the year when they last met, and then the following year, 2024, the country was gearing itself to go to the national elections. And after the national elections, the new ministers that took roles of that were appointed into positions of those that were responsible for this committee had never convened. So we do not know what is the reason.
So if we can just pause at the end of 2023, so up until that point, from its formation in 2018, the minister was Minister Bheki Cele, former Minister Bheki Cele.
Yeah, that's correct.
Yeah. Who made the presentation and who devised the plan which was then presented to the Interministerial Committee?
The plan will have been worked out by the team that was given the responsibility in KZN, which will include the officials that were there at the time, and myself as a person who was the acting provincial commissioner, and some of the deputy national commissioners that were there at the time that had to also contribute in terms of development of that plan. A plan which eventually then had to be given to the National Commissioner for approval. So the National Commissioner was the one who approved the plan that was developed by a different group of senior police officers that were involved.
In terms of this plan, was the PKTT then accountable to the Interministerial Committee?
The task team was a team that was employed to work and execute police work that had to be approved by the National Commissioner. So it was accountable to the National Commissioner, not to the IMC. But the work of the team, the successes and that the team was producing, that the National Commissioner then had to account to the IMC on the work that was done. I must just indicate, Honorable Chair and members, that at the beginning it was only the SAPS that was mainly focused on it. But as the time went on, we realized that we're having challenges as we're presenting to the IMC some challenges, which then made the IMCs to give specific instructions to the head of other departments that are within the security cluster to also organize themselves similar to how the SAPS are organizing themselves and dedicate personnel that are going to be focused on these cases. And as a result, a revised operational working was then developed, which then was approved and adopted, and which then was implemented going forward. So the coordination, the presentation that needed to be done to the IMC will then be presented by the group of the head of departments. The National Commission of the South African Police Service, the Chief of the Army, the Head of State Security, the Head of the Prosecution Authority in the country, the Head of Correctional Services, were amongst the heads of departments that were part of this work that was done, which they would present to the IMC in order to account.
Is that where this word multidisciplinary task team comes from?
That's correct.
It was informed by a number of other actors and state actors, for example, prosecution-led guiding and directing the work of the PKTT to give it a more dedicated focus. Is that where that comes from?
That's correct.
Yeah. So just to perhaps preempt a discussion we might have later, or some of the honourable members may ask of you, when we deal with this directive of 31 December 2024, it will be argued that not by me, I'm not here to present any arguments, but by some implicated, that this was a political initiative. It was a task team established and appointed to perform a particular task from time to time, and the decision to disband or to disestablish it was a political decision, and it was entirely lawful for such a decision to be taken. What would be your response to such a proposition or argument?
Yeah, I'll say they are wrong, Chair. I'll say they are wrong because a minister of police is not a member of political party. The minister of police is executive member that is appointed in terms of the law of the Republic. He's a cabinet member responsible for policing. I don't think the legislature cared as to which political party the member belongs to. So to put a statement and say it was a political decision, what if the minister is not a politician? So I don't think that argument will stand.
Okay. So we'll perhaps explore that a bit later when we come to the Minister's Directive, Minister Mkunu's Directive of 31 December. But just to establish the PKTT as an entity. So this was, is it right? This was not a permanent structure. It was a task team that was established over initially a 6 months period, later on over a year, but it was resourced and financed from the budget of the police, in respect of which all of you as senior officers informed that budget, and it was approved by the National Commissioner. Would that be a correct or a fair summary? What do you want to elaborate?
Honourable Chair and members, the team, as it was working, the SAPS dedicated specific funds from the national level to be utilized by this team, and it was not the budget that was allocated to the cost center of KwaZulu-Natal as a province. Therefore, it was an extra allocation. However, the other departments, be the NPA, who had dedicated prosecutors working with the team, correctional services, and many SSA, many other departments that were part of the operation, I believe they were using their own line function operational budget to execute the task. But I'm speaking under correction. I'm not sure if they had any specific budget allocation for the project. But in the ACPS, which I can speak on, there was a dedicated budget allocation. It might not have been according to what we had asked for, because the CFO needed to make money available. Sometimes we'll ask for 10 million and she'll give you 5. But there was a specific budget for the ACPS. I'm indicating these, Honorable Chair members, that so that it's understood that ACPS was using the budget, but not only ACPS was working in this team. There's NPA, there's correctional services, and there's other entities that were using budget. So I can't speak on their budget. So I'm only talking about the ACPS budget.
So would it be fair to say that this, in summary, about the PKTT, it was a political initiative that was then operationalized by or through the Office of the National Commissioner, fully funded, fully resourced by the police, and subsequently also informed by other state actors, like, for example, the NPA and others, to form this multidisciplinary team.
Honorable Chair members, I'll beg to differ again. It was not a political decision that was implemented by the National Commissioner, but it was an executive authority decision that was executed by the heads of departments within the security cluster, which include the National Commission.
Okay. So, what role, or what was your role within the PKTT? Did you lead the team? Were you the project leader? Or was Brigadier Khumalo was appointed the project leader? Who appointed him as project leader?
Honorable Chair and members, before the meeting of the 21st of May took place, the National Commissioner, as I said earlier when I started, that in KwaZulu-Natal, the Provincial Commissioner was on suspension. The National Commissioner had assigned me to go and act as a Provincial Commissioner in KwaZulu-Natal to oversee the province and manage the province. So in my taking up that position, I had requested the National Commissioner to allow me to take Brigadier Khumalo with me to go down to KZN and assist me with the managing of the province, which the National Commissioner approved. So on our arrival in KZN, we were there for managing the province. So when this tasking came, it was a task that was given to the province to make sure that the attacks to the political leaders in our province is somehow minimized, and we're able to deal with perpetrators and put a stop to the incidents that were happening. So by default, the Provincial Commissioner, which was myself, was part of this. That means I had to be responsible for what was happening at the time. As I said, when the plan was developed, it did not only include the Provincial Commissioner alone. So the plan was put together. As a person in charge of the province, initially, I took responsibility for it. And as I moved out of the province, it needed to be overseen throughout the process, including myself while I was out of the province, but overseen by many senior officers that were given a responsibility to oversee the working of that team. So I was a Provincial Commissioner in the province. the team was given an assignment, a responsibility to a Major General who was at the national level, who was at Detective Services. He was the one who was appointed as a project leader, and then he was assisted by 2 brigadiers. So he went on retirement, and another brigadier was then given that responsibility to take over from him. But as I say, they are accounting to the provincial commissioners, myself, and then the accounting was going all the way up to the national commissioners level.
So the budget for the task team, was that allocated at national level, but the task team itself was in operation at a provincial level?
That is correct. The task team was working at the provincial level while the budget was a national budget.
And just describe the command structure and the composition of the team. Was it the officers in the team, were they only based in KZN, or were they drawn from other parts of the country, other divisions, other units?
Well, Honorable Chair and members, the team was made out of different expertise from different parts of our organization, which were drawn from different parts of our country, as the organization is spread across, where we need to get the expertise to come and assist. Those expertise were then invited from different stations, different units in the rest of the Republic to come and assist the team.
Just to reference him, because he will also come and give evidence before the committee, did General Masemola at he was obviously aware of the existence of the team, and when he became the National Commissioner, he would have been instrumental in approving the budget for the team. Is that right?
The National Commissioner, when they started, the current National Commissioner was not the head of the organization, so he did not approve the budget.
But
he was one of the people that were signatories requesting the budgetary approval. But upon assuming the office of the National Commissioner in 2022, he then became responsible person to allocate funds to the project.
This team, what was its membership rotated from time to time? And if so, what was the reason for rotating the membership of the team?
Yes, Honorable Chair and members, when the team started, perhaps maybe what I must give as a background, which I didn't talk about, is that although the existence of this team started after the President made a visit in Pietermaritzburg in May 2018, but the incidence of this violence nature in KZN, it's something that was already in existence for a couple of years prior. And it was a concern already, not only within the provincial leadership or executive in the province, but it was a concern at the national level as well, because it was something that a crime that was directed towards the leaders of our society, which was a concern. And at that time, the Minister of Police sought to direct that the police must do something extraordinary to handle this. At that time, the Minister of Police was Minister Fikile Mbalula. And they had directed that some intervention must be done to try and correct or arrest this situation that seems to be getting out of control. General Masemola, who's now the National Commissioner, was still a deputy at the time. So there was a tasking given to the province of KwaZulu-Natal to say KZN have special focus on cases that involve politicians, so that you can try and make sure that you improve in terms of arrest and taking cases to court. When this incident continued up until May 2018, when the Interministerial Committee came to KZN, then the committee was given a presentation on what the police were doing in terms of those cases. So the status quo that was there at the province. So they were given those presentations, And upon assessing that, it became clear that the performance of the SAPS at the time was not very encouraging. It was very poor. And it was for that reason then that the IMC emphasized the point that something else must be done to better coordinate and see the speed of finalization of cases. And when the team started working, Honorable Chair and members, as we reconfigured it into what we refer to as PKTT now, because it was a combination of different disciplines, it was not only detectives alone. Before, it was only detectives alone that were working in dealing with those cases. Now, when this team was formed, it had forensic experts in it, it had analysts in it, it had intelligence members that were working in the team, dedicated by different departments within the SAPS or divisions within the SAPS. So some of the things that were then observed, Honorable Chair and members, was that there is a lot of corruption within the South African Police Service, detective members that are carrying dockets. And the team then had to deal with trying to eliminate the rogue members within these cases, because some of members are carrying dockets, and not because of the poor investigation from their side, but it's a deliberate omission of some of the information that must be in the case docket so that the case doesn't go to court. And that led into an arrest of quite a number of police officers that were working in that team. Quite a number of them to date are still in prison. As we engage giving this evidence with this ad hoc committee, you'll be privy that some of the members are in cahoot, those members arrested that are in prison. Some of them are now in cahoot with some of the honorable members in this parliament, feeding them with information. So when we discover that these members are this corrupt and they get arrested, and then we realize that we cannot then risk to have more members getting corrupted or be recruited and be paid money. So therefore it is important, we must try by all means to rotate them. So the rotation of members was then influenced by that. Although unfortunately it was not all the members that needed to be rotated. We'll rotate some of them and some of them will stay behind. And a typical example, it's not easy to rotate a detective when he's carrying a docket because he's an investigating officer. But what we made sure is that the detective doesn't work alone. He works with a group of other members around him or her so that we prevent any involvement in corruption, as it were. So, the rotation then took place, and the reason for that rotation was exactly that, what I've explained.
The rotation, did it take place every 6 months or every year? Over what period?
Honorable Chair and members, again, as part of, we put up a plan together and we want to roll it out and have a perfect investigation. But as we realize that we have these bad apples within the SAPS that we try to deal with, we also realize that we have a bad apple within the prosecution that we have to deal with. And we also have bad apples within probably in courts that we have to deal with. We see a case that a team initially, it was said to be going to be working for 6 months. And when the team makes arrest and the cases are brought before court, and the court will schedule a case on the month number 7, when the team's supposed to have stopped. And we then have to request the extension of the team so that the members stay on to continue these cases in court. And when the matter goes to court, when the extension is granted, it's granted for another 6 months. And when this case arrives in court on the month number 7, it gets postponed again to the month number 15, just outside the deployment date. So we then realize that this postponement with timelines, it perhaps that's a reason why they are postponing these cases to days after where the member is supposed to withdraw. We then requested to the National Commission, let's change our strategy. Let's not put timelines. Let's just keep the team indefinitely for the whole financial year. And from there, we started seeing cases being enrolled in court because then there was no end date for the team. And then the investigation started happening and cases were then being placed on the court roll.
Yeah, that's why I asked the question about the rotation, because it clearly could or did affect the prosecution of a particular case. If a member was rotated and the prosecution was still pending, it affected the issue of until when do you postpone a matter, and when the matter comes back to court, is the officer concerned now still part of the unit, or has the person been replaced, rotated? I asked the question for that reason. Yeah. So let's just talk about your relationship with Brigadier Khumalo. You know each other well? You would describe yourself as good colleagues?
Honorable Chair members, there are too many Brigadier Khumalos in the South African Police Service. Can maybe SA be specific?
The project leader of the team, PKTT.
Yeah, he's a colleague. The head of crime intelligence you're talking about?
Yes.
Yes, he's a colleague. I know him very well.
So, would you still describe him as he's the project leader of the PKTT?
That's correct.
Notwithstanding the fact that he's also been, or had been appointed as the head of crime intelligence.
That is correct.
Given the very important role that crime intelligence plays throughout the service and for the country, was it feasible for him to continue as the leader of the PKTT, given this very wide and important role he has to play as the head of crime intelligence?
Yeah, Honorable Chair members, we are giving assignment as South African Police Service because it's something we do all the time in our careers, that we are having a responsibility in terms of your line function. That's what you're employed for, and that's where you are drawing a salary from. But then you're giving other ad hoc projects on the side. Typical example, if I may use a current project that everyone should know about, that the head of the investigation in the province of Western Cape, which is a province that is too much in the middle of late with regard to incidents of violence that are happening. But the head of investigation in this province has been deployed to France to go and assist, to lead a team in France to go and assist with regard to the investigation of the death of the ambassador. It's a temporary thing. He's going to come back and continue with this province. So it's a common trend across the SAPS. We do that.
Now, I was just asking and wondering that Brigadier Khumalo, appointed head of intelligence, project leader of the team, and you're the provincial commissioner of KZN. Both of you played key important roles in leading that team. Your capacity to continue to lead the team and to play the role that you had since 2018, was it still possible to do that given your other responsibilities?
That is correct, Honorable Chair. I was in KZN in 2018 and 2019. July, I went back to Pretoria, as I said earlier. I was a divisional commissioner of operational response services, but I still had the responsibility also over the political task team during that period while I was in Pretoria.
So the record, and we're going to come to that in a moment, of the PKTT in terms of combating, fighting political killings and prosecutions. Would that have been shared with this interministerial committee when it met, I believe, twice a year? Is that right? Twice a year, the interministerial committee?
Yeah, well, the frequency of the meeting, I don't have it in front of me, but I know on annual basis the committee will meet, the interministerial committee will meet and take reports.
Yeah. And so that report would be given by the senior management of SAPS.
That's correct.
Which includes the national commissioner and his deputies and other heads of departments.
That's correct.
Were you involved in such a briefing?
Yes, I was. In many of them, I was part of those briefings.
In your capacity as the provincial commissioner, or in your capacity as the leader of the PKTT? And the role that you played there, you clearly played an instrumental role in its establishment and the subsequent work that it did. But we know also from your employment record that you were at head office and then assigned sometimes to KZN and also to the Western Cape, and so there was quite a bit of movement, but you continue to play this role within the PKTT.
Yeah, no, that's correct. I will be providing the presentation to the Interministerial Committee as the person responsible for the province in KwaZulu-Natal and responsible for the project at the time. But when I moved to Pretoria, I was not as much involved in terms of briefings. So the briefing were handled by Gerald Khumalo in the main. Because I will also be traveling from Pretoria coming down to KZN, and he would give the presentation as a person that was always in the province.
Yeah. So certainly at a political level, when you reported to the Interministerial Committee, they would have been aware of the work that the PKTT was doing. You would report to them whether people were being arrested, whether they were being prosecuted, and whether these prosecutions were successful or not successful. In other words, their record would have been shared with this committee at least on an annual basis.
Honorable Chair, members will always give presentation to the Interministerial Committee as on a strategic level without going deeper into the details of the investigation in terms of saying who is a suspect and who are the people intending to questions and so forth. It would be safe to just say to them, in this case, we've identified the suspects involved and we've effected an arrest on them. Is a matter in court or not in court? What is the obstacle and those things? So it was more on a strategic level as an oversight body, not bothering them with regard to the details, because that the security of the investigation needed to be protected all the time. So we did not divulge that information when we were giving them presentation.
Yeah. So you deal at paragraphs 12 to 13 what you under the subheading successes of the PKTT. Would you describe the PKTT as a success?
I will say the work that the team did was a good work, and the results that the team had achieved over time were good results that we could be proud of.
And would you say that its continued existence is justified?
Yes, that is correct. It still exists to date, and we're quite happy with the fact that they still exist, considering the fact that we are approaching elections. We wouldn't want that which used to happen in the past to start again.
Now, you made a presentation, a presentation was made, I think, by Brigadier Khumalo on the 5th of March before the Police Portfolio Committee. You attended, or rather your name was on the list of attendees at that meeting, but were you privy to that presentation that Lieutenant General Khumalo did at that meeting? And you would have also seen it at Annexure NSM 4 to your statement.
Honorable Chair, members, it is true that the SAPS appeared before the Portfolio Committee on Police on the 5th of March 2025. The presentation that was made by General Khumalo as a Divisional Commissioner of Crime Intelligence and also the leader of the Political Killings Task Team before the committee on that day was not given to me. I did not have a copy of that presentation. But I was part of that sitting of the committee, so I am aware of the presentation, of which a presentation is subsequently received after the sitting of that portfolio committee.
And you weren't present yourself, but a further similar presentation was also made on the 6th when the minister got a presentation from senior management in the police.
I do not know about the meeting of the 6th, Honorable Chair.
Just before we move on about the success of the team, did the team also operate outside of KZN?
That is correct.
Just give us some examples or tell us in which areas, other areas outside of KZN did they operate in?
The Honorable Chair, members, the National Commissioner gave the assignment to the team to go and assist with the investigation of cases at the University of Fort Hare in the Eastern Cape. And after that, there was also a request for the team to go and assist with the investigation of organized crime in Gauteng province, and also they also assisted. They were invited to participate in an investigation of one case specific of Umtata in the Eastern Cape that they were assigned to assist on. So I know of those three interventions that the team made outside KZN.
And those they were assigned to do that by the National Commissioner.
That's correct.
Okay. Just for the record, can I ask you to refer to Annexure NSM 2, which is on pages 23. That is a transcript of your presentation 23 to 31. It's in volume, Honourable Chair and Honourable Members, volume 2, which is the annexes to your statement.
Volume 2.
Volume 2.